Holy cow, this is the US Army's revolutionary new prototype 30mm grenade launcher called the Squad Support Rifle System. It's meant to take out enemies in trenches, counter UAS, and even armored vehicles. All handled by this one chonky air-bursting son of a boomstick. It's like the Army saw the Warhammer 40K bolter and said, yes please, I'll take one of those. For Terra and the Emperor. It's a portable shoulder-fired, semi-auto magazine-fed nade spammer that lets your average infantryman rapidly engage the enemy with a bunch of different types of freaking explosives. But it's more than just the ultimate noob tube, you guys. The SSRS is a whole new category of weapon capability. It's not just a rifle or a launcher, it's both sorta. It's the American infantry's first ever precision explosive rifle.
Hey man, nice cosplay, you
So the SSRS comes in at about 14 pounds unloaded with no scope, and the Army put a maximum length of 34 inches tippy tip to butt. That means that when this thing is fully loaded and with an optic on top, it'll weigh about the same as your M249 SAW machine gun. It's the Army's answer to similar systems that we've seen the People's Liberation Army in China deploy with their QLU-11. It's a competition against those near peers. The SRSS is a radical change in tactics. I mean, the Army hasn't upgraded their grenade launcher since like the Vietnam War. But I've been hurt before by big, strong, sexy Army in the past. They've made promises of fancy high-tech grenade launchers, and they didn't follow through and they ended up on forgotten weapons. They abandoned me in the cold. So is that gonna happen again here with the 30mm SSRS? In this video, we're gonna examine that. And we're gonna find out the new types of tactics that the Army themselves have outlined that they're gonna use for this new weapon. We're gonna look at the legitimately insane different types of ammunition that you'll have in your arsenal, and how the Army had the SSRS designed, built, and tested within just 6 months.
Here's the no bullshit reason why I switched to Jaco Fuel, because it's clean energy that doesn't give me jitters or shakes or keep me up all night like other energy drinks do. I'm excited to partner with Jaco Fuel because when I'm putting together the prototype grenade launcher for this episode and researching obscure grenade launcher facts for 5 hours friggin' straight, I can't afford to have a nasty crash afterwards. Most energy drinks I had in the Army were basically over-caffeinated poison that left me with a nasty crash that filled me with existential dread wondering what the purpose of life was. But with Jaco Fuel, I get clean ingredients that improve my memory recall without the crash. And that's why former Navy SEAL Commander Jocko Willink created Jaco Fuel. When I was speaking to him when we did the podcast together, he told me he was sick of watching high performers rely on garbage fuel. Personally, I love the Mulk. It's got 95 milligrams of caffeine, which is kind of like a strong cup of coffee, so I'm alert and focused. And it also has 30 grams of clean grass-fed protein. Jaco Fuel has 0 artificial sweeteners and doesn't give me the bubble guts bloating afterwards. My pregnant wife even loves it. She drinks it every morning because she said it's the only thing that tastes sweet that she's allowed to drink because she's not allowed to have sugar right now. Go has smooth, balanced energy from the L-theanine and the nootropics that it has in there. And whether you're in the field, the gym, or running your own company, ditch that over-caffeinated fuel. Fuel up with something that's actually good for your brain. Get 25% off your first order by clicking the link in the description and using my code Cappy25 at checkout for 25% off your order. Click the link in the description or go to jacofuel.com to get clean energy for the disciplined savage.
We actually just recently got the first ever tiny snippet of an official video clip released by the defense industry showing the SRSS being live fired for the first time. The first thing that jumps out to me is that has some serious recoil, right? Is it just me, or does it look like that's a mule of a donkey kick that hit that dude in the shoulder?
Based on that recoil, I think I could get an accurate shot off every 3 seconds or so, which is a lot better than the like 20 seconds it takes to reload and fire the M320.
America's new Precision Grenadier program started as early as 2019, so it's a relatively new program. They started reaching out to the military-industrial complex at that point. By 2022, a solid request for proposal appeared publicly online on an official government website. These documents revealed that the Precision Grenadier System is meant to hit targets out to 500 meters with that 30mm grenade, which is a crazy long range, guys. It's basically 5xing your max range compared to the old systems. So the legacy launchers like the M203 and the M320 they were good out to like 150 meters if you were a crack shot. So they want the SRSS to have a flat trajectory, meaning that when you fire it, it shoots out like a line drive off a baseball bat straight to the enemy's teeth, and that's absolutely necessary to have that angle of fire to be able to hit into those tiny slits of an enemy concrete bunker. It's a high velocity round, unlike the slow moving legacy old M203 and M320 that kind of lobs grenades at an arc and it took 5 business days to get to the target. That arc meant hitting inside a bunker was extremely difficult. Mastering the arc of the 40 mil grenade is a lot tougher than just infantryman see, infantryman shoot, infantryman like.
Sometimes I accidentally called it the SRSS instead of the SSRS. It's also known as the PGS, and eventually it'll be called the M404 probably. Right now the naming is a clusterfuck.
So here's how it works. First, the shooter uses a built-in laser rangefinder to gauge the distance to the target, then to decide where they want the round to explode in relation to the target, so you can dial it in to blow up in front of the enemy or behind. The targeting data is transferred to the chambered round using an electromagnetic coil that connects to the microchip in the round. After the round's fired, the chip detects how many times that thing has spun in the air, and once it detects that it's spun the right number of times to reach a certain distance, kaboom! Currently, the US Army doesn't have an air-bursting counter-defilade man-portable system. Defilade is a fancy military term describing a position that is protected from enemy observation or direct fire, usually by natural terrain like hills or man-made cover like walls in a trench. Troops in defilade can remain shielded while firing on you from relative safety. Or I just like saying defilade. So is that a French word? Sounds cool. Let me give you 3 scenarios that this Precision Grenadier System is designed for. First, that really pesky situation where you come up on the enemy position and they're up on elevated floors above you in a building. Send a couple of nades straight through the window using your high-powered scope now. So the M203, I fired it before. They don't have a scope. They're wildly inaccurate. They're called noob tubes, but really in reality, they're anything but. Second scenario, traditional riflemen or machine guns can't engage without cresting the hill or a trench. Program your PGS to explode behind the trench or hill. Scenario 3, in the jungle, you explode your grenades behind trees or vegetation. This can be used in combination with a recon drone flying overhead up in the air. You have that drone laser range find the enemy, then that targeting information is calculated and digitally, wirelessly sent to your weapon optic, which automatically sets the distance, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Now we're cooking with explosive grenades. It's like my old squad leader used to always say, Cappy, you're really some kind of special, aren't you? I remember when I first got to my squad in Iraq, I wanted to be the Grenadier so badly. I'd always had a giant crush on the old school M203 grenade thumper. I think a lot of people did. There's just something really cool about it. You're telling me that you get to put a gun on your gun that makes things blow up? Get the f out of here, I love it. So the Grenadier role is normally reserved for your team leaders, senior enlisted, because the job is one of the most difficult and important and lives depend on it. You only have 2 in each squad of 9 guys. So I spent my whole entire tour jealous of those dudes staring at their grenade launchers. Come to think of it, they're probably like, why is Cappy licking his lips and staring at me like, what the f? The Grenadier's job is to use the weapon to suppress dead zones or dead space. It's really one of the most difficult weapons and roles to understand, I think. This is why new air bursting technology is so important. If this sounds familiar, that's because it is. The Army has tried to develop this capability for over 3 decades already and failed each time before, which is why some soldiers, including myself, remain very skeptical of the SRSS program. You may remember the XM25 Punisher program, the original version of which started in the early 2000s, tried to give you 25 mil grenades that could airburst at a distance by the infantry. The goal was to cook insurgents hiding behind cover. However, it failed for a number of reasons, including cost, and it weighed too much, and was unreliable, and the small ammo was ineffective, allegedly. Sure, it was tested in combat in Afghanistan. Some troops loved it, some hated carrying it instead of a rifle. Sometimes it self-destructed in guys' hands and injured dudes. Whatever the reason people didn't like it, ultimately, in July 2018, the Army officially terminated the XM25 program. That wasn't all. Meanwhile, the Barrett 25mm XM109 objective sniper rifle, better known as the payload rifle, was actually spun up much earlier. In 1994, the Army first created that request for proposal for that capability. But I just so happen to be a massive fan of RoboCop, and I happen to know that the idea predates even the Army's concept by several years, because the 1987 blockbuster RoboCop features a sniper rifle that fires grenades. And it just so happened to be based on none other than the Barrett 50 cal itself, which is what the XM109 is based on. I'm not saying the Army got the idea from RoboCop, but I'm not saying they didn't either.
I was so obsessed with RoboCop, I used to dress up in tinfoil and try to be like him. Okay, now you know my deepest, darkest secret. What's yours?
The XM109 was supposed to be capable of defeating light armor, ragdoll people out to 2 kilometers. Test results from the weapon have been released since then, so we know it could penetrate at least 1.5 inches of steel at 1,200 meters. They had plans for a version that would cut through 2 inches of 50 millimeters of steel, which means it could go through a BMP's armor.
I just noticed I forgot to ask the animator to take the shell off the casing when it's fired. Please forgive me for my sins. I know this is unforgivable.
So why didn't we see this in every squad today? The propellant and heavy projectile meant that it had a crazy, unacceptable high recoil. If you thought the SRSS footage from the beginning of the video had high kick, the recoil force of the XM109 was over 60 foot-pounds. For context, a 12-gauge shotgun with a slug has about 20 foot-pounds, so it's 3 times the amount of that shotgun at one moment. The airburst version of the Mark 19 grenade launcher, which was the XM307, was also canceled. The Army continued to doodle in the corner of their notebooks, hoping one day that they would make the dream come true. So what's different this time around with the new 30mm SRSS program here? Why is this going to work when they failed so many times in the past? The way the Army has sped up the whole process is with something called the X-Tech Lethality Challenge. X-Tech Lethality is a newer-ish method that the Department of Defense is trying to use to streamline the process for businesses to put technology into troops' hands faster. The way I can tell that this is a new initiative is because they have a Facebook page and a Twitter account, or X account. It's 3 easy steps. Basically, they've made it so you just do a concept white paper, then a technology pitch, and then finally the proof of concept demonstration. The Army sets the requirements and gives these industry hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money along the way to lead them along, also known as tax money. Basically, 4 different companies competed for the contract and got cash prizes from like $15,000 to $300K, then to $2 million in the last spot. And then at the end, it was FN and Barrett. It was down to those 2 companies in the final step of the competition, and then Barrett won. I think there's a lot we can learn about the tactics and capabilities of the new grenade rifle through the US Army's official request for it. That's available on sam.gov. I went and I looked at it and I saw anyone could apply. So I was thinking of maybe producing my own version of this weapon and then trying to win this contract. Now that I have an actual incorporated company, I thought about throwing my hat in the ring, but the timeline's already passed and Barrett already won. You're probably wondering how I was able to acquire this SRSS. My polite request to test fire it so far has been denied by the Army, so I went ahead and had a scale prototype actually built, and then I painted it, put it all together so that I could demonstrate for you how this thing looks and works. Just promise me you guys won't tell my wife how much I spent on this thing. Right here in the requirement, it tells us a lot. It says, quote, to be deployed as a soldier's primary weapon system, providing organic close quarters combat, counter-defilade and counter-UAS capabilities through a family of ammunition to ranges in concert with the rest of the squad's battle space and requiring minimal resupplies to support. This capability shall provide overmatch to comparable threat grenade launchers in near-peer formations in future operating environments to include urban, jungle, woodland, subterranean, and desert in day, night, or obscured conditions. So we could see right there that the Army is a little bit concerned about what near-peers are doing with their grenade launchers. So a lot to unpack there. I'm glad that they didn't use the word lethality or force multiplier even once. I'm proud of you, Army. Good job. The proposal goes on. The PGS enables users to detect and engage targets at a distance, gather relevant information for accurate targeting, and rapidly deploy selected munitions. The system features capabilities for precise targeting and adjustable settings for optimal effectiveness. So far, it appears that it uses the same XM157 optic that you see on the M7 rifle for long-range targeting, I believe up to an 8x magnification. So here's where we get into the different types of ammunition that I think are fascinating. First, there's the high explosive airburst which is great for putting grenades into open windows. This type sends out nasty shrapnel. Then there's also close quarters battle round, which is meant for room and trench clearing. It's so you can hit targets within 35 meters. I believe this will also be like a shotgun. Theoretically, this would be good for taking out enemy drones, but they're working on counter drone specific round. It's more than likely that the counters drone specific round will be like a version of the airburst round, possibly with some kind of basic auto tracking ability. Then there's the main dish, the proximity ammo. Then the final round is the armor piercing, designed to take out things like trucks or enemy equipment. I wouldn't be surprised though if there had some decent effectiveness against lighter armor like the BTR. But anything past that would need a dedicated anti-tank weapon. It'd be crazy if you could use this thing to take out BMPs like they originally wanted to with the XM109. So Amtep Corp, I found out they're the ones that are going to be responsible for creating the entire new family of 30 mil shoulder-fired munitions, which I've now learned is the largest producer of 40 mil ammo in the world and the sole contractor for it for the US Army. I would do some really weird stuff to get that $1 billion contract, you guys, I'm just saying. It's kind of crazy that it's like a shotgun, a grenade launcher, counter UAV in one system. After years of this type of weapon not working out, forgive me if I'm a little bit skeptical. I don't want to get my hopes up too high. Look at the PowerPoint slide by the Army. It shows on the left what it's like to be in the infantry without this weapon system attacking an enemy defensive fortification. Basically, it says the old way without the SRSS, you had to assault the objective or enemy bunker and took a total of 11 steps to defeat it. An abridged version is to knock out a bunker. First, the platoon leader determines which bunker is the biggest threat, where other bunkers are located. They have to figure out whether to breach the obstacles like barbed wire, got to determine where to place support positions. Platoon leaders have to determine the size of the assault squad, then suppressing fire, then isolate the bunker, and assault squad moves up, then shift fire, then knock out the bunker, blah, blah, blah. Then the PGS, it's only 4 steps, and it's basically like you kill the enemy bunker with the PGS, then you go to the pub, have a cold one, and wait for it all to blow over. The Army publicly published a Q&A on the SRSS on their contracting website, where they revealed information that I haven't seen published anywhere else yet. Here are some of the highlights that we had. The PGS will replace a weapon in the squad. It only needs to be operated by 1 soldier. It's not a crew-served weapon. The basic loadout will be 45 rounds, so you're carrying about 7 of these magazines, roughly 20 pounds of ammo. The official Army word in the doc is that commanders have to weigh terrain and threat considerations. For example, certain missions in certain places may require a higher number of counter-UAS rounds to be carried, while other missions might require more breaching rounds, and these decisions are made by the commander. The document then asks, would rocket-assisted ammunition solutions be considered, which is a hint that they're working on rocket-assisted 30 mil ammo. The SRSS fits into the Army's larger tactical shift because they believe in the next war, you won't have the ability to easily call in artillery, mortars, or airstrikes. This is intended to give light infantry extra firepower. The size and weight limitations that are introduced, though, leave some interesting issues for the designers to have to work out when it comes to recoil. So Mars Inc. used their long recoil action system, which incorporates the barrel reciprocation into the actual function of the bolt. This has the general effect of lowering the rate of fire in traditional rifles, but that won't be a big problem for this kind of rifle. Additionally, rifles will use a pneumatic dampener, almost like a howitzer does, to really allow the shooter to stay on target after firing, instead of getting kissed in the eyeball by a scope ring. According to the designers of the SSRS, the felt recoil is about the same as shooting an M4, but that's a wild claim. Maybe I misunderstood what they were saying. I don't know. I'm skeptical of that claim, especially after seeing a video of the Northrop Grumman one fired. But I really hope that that turns out to be true. Gets even crazier though. In a recent interview I saw, Mars Inc. explained how their prototype, they're actually using cut down barrels from A-10 aircraft 30 mil cannons. If anyone has a lead on where to get some spare A-10 parts, let me know. I'm working on something. According to the company, the 30 mil round fired from the SSRS is anywhere between twice as lethal to 4 times as lethal, depending on the round type. I should be doing their marketing. Wait, am I already doing that? Am I just a tool for the military-industrial complex? What is the meaning of my life? Why am I here? New squads will only be getting 1 precision grenade launcher, at least for now, meaning each infantry platoon will likely have 3. With the news that Barrett and Mars Inc. won the bid, we'll have to see if it actually ends up being fielded. They say third time's a charm, and so we may finally be getting programmable ammunition into the hands of Army Grenadiers across the force. Or we'll just be setting ourselves up for heartbreak once again. What do you guys think about the Army's new SRSS? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Go over to cappyarmy.com for full show notes, new merch, and exclusive content. I'm your regular infantryman, Chris Cappy, ending transmission now.